Life in a foreign country as a trailing spouse. Does it ever get easier? If I had a penny for every time I was asked this question via Instagram DMs, in the comment sections on YouTube, I would be rich. But that also tells me कि एक सवाल है जो इतने लोगों के लिए relatable है. It's an experience that so many people are either going through or thinking they will go through, and that's why it's so important to talk about this, because it can be a very isolating space. Before I jump into the video, let me just introduce myself. मेरा नाम दुर्जमीन है, मैं ओरिजिनली पाकिस्तान से हूँ और मैं पिछले 4.5 साल से जर्मनी में रह रही हूँ. Before that, I have lived in Dubai. I got married and moved immediately to Dubai, so that was also a learning experience for me. And then my husband found a job here in Berlin, and that's when I came to move to Germany. And I have lived abroad before on my own, और वो experience इस experience से बहुत different था. And the kind of emotional roller coaster that I felt on this journey, moving to Dubai after getting married and then moving to Germany, I had not felt when I had moved abroad for my own studies. And that's something that I know कि बहुत relatable है, because every time I talk to women in a similar situation, they always ask me, does it get any better? Does it get any easier? How can we feel more settled? So those are all the things I want to talk about today. Generally, whenever I'm doing a YouTube video, I have a script in front of me. I already know what I'm going to say. It's a very planned out process. Today, I have no script. I have some questions in mind that people have asked me, but I don't have answers prepared. And I just want to speak from my heart, because it has been a really up and down journey, but now I think I'm on the up part of it, and I feel very comfortable just talking about it and giving you guys some hope. So I'm going to start with the emotions of it all, because it can be a very emotionally challenging process. First of all, getting married, especially in our culture where you sometimes don't know the person very well and you absolutely have not lived with them, so you don't know what to expect from life, उसके ऑलरेडी अपने challenges होते हैं. एक और country में move करने के भी challenges होते हैं, and then you combine those two together and well, there are a lot of challenges. And at an emotional level, you may be wondering, why did I do this? मैं कहाँ आ गई हूँ? मैंने ये क्या कर लिया है? और ये एक सवाल है जो मैं अपने आप से काफ़ी ज़्यादा पूछती थी. And I also used to wonder, this decision, is it the right decision for me? Not just getting married, but also getting married and moving to a new country where I don't know anybody, I don't speak the language, ना कोई नौकरी है, ना कोई friends हैं. ये किस किस्म का फैसला था? But I do believe that life takes you on its own journey. आपको लगता है कि आप choose कर रहे हैं, but actually जो आपके लिए लिखा होता है वो होता रहता है. And a lot of things do eventually work out, things do fall into place, but you also have to make an effort to get to that point. So my first few months as a trailing spouse were rough, and this is something that pretty much every woman that I've spoken to in this position, or even man, but men less than women who are in this position, they do say this, because you have this sense of loss of identity. जब आप अपने शहर में होते हैं, अपनी फैमिली, अपने फ्रेंड्स के साथ होते हैं, आपकी एक जॉब होती है, एक रूटीन होती है, you have a lot of, you're grounded in that place, you have a sense of belonging, and then suddenly you are transported to a new country. Your spouse is probably very busy with their new job or their job, and you are left wondering, who am I and what is my role in this life? And for me as a person, I very quickly realized that doing things around the house, while I love it, it's not very emotionally fulfilling for me. I love being in my house, I love having a clean house and doing all of those things, लेकिन एक spiritual और emotional level पे एक खला रह जाती थी, in my personal opinion. And I know I'm not the only one feeling that way. So the first thing you have to do, if you found yourself in that situation where you realized, okay, I'm in a new place, this sense of lack of identity is very much there, what do I do? I think the first thing you have to do, and this may sound very stupid, is just leave the house. Just go out. ठंड है, गर्मी है, अनजान शहर है, you don't know anyone, you're an introvert, ignore all of those things and just force yourself to go out. So my first couple of months in Berlin, what I would do is I would just go on Google Maps and look for points of interest के okay, यहाँ पे एक lake है, यहाँ पे एक river है, just silly little things that I can do that can give some kind of purpose to my day. I know कि in the grand scheme of things कॉफ़ी लेने जाना और दरिया के किनारे बैठना ये कोई fulfilling purpose नहीं है, but in that day जब मेरी कोई और human interaction भी नहीं हो सकती थी and कोई और major purpose भी मुझे नज़र नहीं आ रहा था, this did give some kind of structure to my days, and on a day-to-day basis it was easier to just go through the motions instead of sitting at home and just wondering about why life has brought me here. So that's the step one. You will get out of the house, put on some nice clothes, put on some makeup if you want, put on your favorite perfume, and just take yourself out on a date. I think there's great beauty in learning how to be friends with your own self. हमें mostly ये सीखना नहीं पड़ता because especially growing up in Pakistan with big families and close friend circles और हर वक्त का मिलना जुलना, you never really have to be your own friend. But now that I've learned this skill, I think it's quite an important life skill to have, to just be like, okay, I'm alone, but I'm not lonely. I have my own thoughts, I have my own interests, and I'll figure out what to do with my day. So step number one, you have to get out of the house every single day. Force yourself if you don't want to. Force yourself if the weather is cold, if you feel intimidated, if you feel scared of the new city. This is how you will get used to this new life. And that helps to some degree also get over the logistical hurdles that you feel जब आप नई जगह जाते हैं, जैसे कि ज़ुबान चाहे आपको आती भी हो, but obviously हम पाकिस्तान में उर्दू में बात करते हैं, and then in a different country just getting used to speaking in English can also be daunting at first. So if you go out every day and you talk to someone in a coffee shop or you talk to someone in the grocery store, आपको बोलने की भी आदत पड़ती है. I would say same with German, but let's be real, I mostly just get by with English even in Berlin. And then it also helps you feel like you're a part of the society, you're a part of this city, you're a part of this country. It doesn't feel like you're someone who's waiting for someone else because their life is in this city and you are just constantly thinking about back home कि वहाँ क्या हो रहा है and काश मैं वहाँ होती. Another thing that gave me a real sense of understanding of this country was actually enrolling in courses, and this is something that you can do in many different ways. I started a German course and I started a financial integration course for migrant women, and both changed my life in different ways. Obviously German course से मुझे German समझ नहीं आई, so that made my existence in Germany much easier, and I highly recommend just learning a bit of the language in whatever country you're in if it's not an English speaking country. And then with the financial integration course, उसका करने का सिर्फ मकसद ये था कि मैंने पढ़ा migrant women and I was like, okay, I'll just go, I'll meet people. And that's literally what happened. I met people. It was a nice, again a routine थोड़ी develop हो गई थी. But more than that, they also gave me some really good tips on, as a migrant woman, what should I be thinking about in terms of finances, which I found really interesting because in my own country, no one had really told me what to do with money. My idea was you earn money and you spend it, and that's that. But coming here, understanding how complex the financial system is and how little I knew about it, it was actually a really good idea to meet with other women जिनको भी मेरी तरह कुछ नहीं पता था और वो सब उसी journey पे थी, to learn things. You can also do other courses. You don't have to learn about finance. You can learn cooking, painting, pottery classes, anything that you are interested in. I think this is one of those times. अब मैं सोचती हूँ कि इतना time था मेरे पास to learn a new life skill, and I spent all that time just worrying about, oh my god, who am I, why have I come here, and overthinking about things that in the long run I have no control over. So this is my one big piece of advice, is to use that time in a way that's productive, not in the sense कि आपको immediately नौकरी करनी है, but in the sense that it teaches you some kind of life skill or just forces you to be out of your comfort zone. Speaking of comfort zone, as a resident introvert, oh my god, I knew that I needed friends. Everyone needs friends, everyone needs to socialize, but I find it so difficult to be in a situation जहाँ मैं किसी को नहीं जानती और मैं उनसे बात करनी है और दोस्ती करनी है. And I've never really had to do that in my life because every time I've moved, even including when I moved to London, I already had some friends from Pakistan who were there, and I connected with them and they connected me to their friends, and then I also made some new friends on my own. But it wasn't like एक शहर में आ गई हूँ और मैं किसी को नहीं जानती and I need to make a concerted effort to make friends. When you go for a master's or you go for a job, you're kind of forced to make friends with the people that you work with or study with. But in this scenario, I knew I need friends and I have no idea how to do it. And most importantly, I don't want to do it because I'm an introvert. So for the first 5 to 6 months, it really was, I was alone, and I was to some degree lonely because I just didn't make an effort to make friends. And then I told myself, okay, you can either stay here for the next 4 or 5 years and complain about the fact that तुम्हारे कोई दोस्त नहीं है, or you put yourself out of your comfort zone for a brief period. It's uncomfortable, but just go and see what the possibilities are. And I remember feeling like a loser, writing on WhatsApp groups and Facebook groups saying, you know, I'm new here and I want to meet. And actually I was surprised कि इतने लोग मिलना चाहते थे, because everyone who's new in the city and in a similar position, they want to make friends, but everyone's a bit worried about coming off as, you know, a creep and just being in an awkward situation with a bunch of strangers. So a lot of people just don't take the plunge. And once I started writing on there, I met so many people. And I will say, आपको पहले 6 महीने में जैसे प्यार भी पहली नज़र में नहीं होता या कम होता है, वैसे पहले 6 महीने में you will not connect with someone immediately, and you won't have lifelong friendships, you know, cropping up in the first year. Some of those friends you will retain, but a lot of them are just people that you meet to give you important life experiences and to push you out of your comfort zone, and that's very, very important. One very loser thing, in my opinion, that I used to do was, I found this group of content creators, but like small content creators who weren't really making money from content creation, and we would all just get together और हम एक दूसरे की तस्वीरें खींचते थे, और एक लड़की उनमें से फोटोग्राफर थी तो वो सबकी तस्वीरें खींचती थी, and we would all tag her in that. Like now that I look back on it, I'm like, wow, ये कितनी loser हरकत थी. But in that period in time, just on a Saturday, knowing that I have somewhere to go, I have a plan, I have people to meet, people who, you know, I share a common interest with, it used to give me such a sense of relief versus being like, अच्छा एक हफ्ता और गुजर गया और वही रूटीन के काम किए, घर की काम किए, एक शख्स का इंतज़ार किया, you know, फेस टाइम पे पुराने लोगों से बात की. Like those things, while they're lovely, you know, having a partner and having family back home, those are lovely things, but they also kind of make you feel like, what am I doing here, you know, what's my life here? So just forcing myself to go out of my comfort zone to meet new people, eventually it did work out, because now I have a very solid friendship group, and it's not a lot of people because I'm not an extrovert, and I don't go out a lot because I'm not an extrovert, and I don't necessarily meet them every day either because I'm not an extrovert. But just that experience of putting myself in that uncomfortable space, it led me to these people, and it also led me to have some very nice memories around the city. And then finally, of course, if you can, I highly encourage getting a job in the city that you live in. Even अगर आपका लाइफ प्लान नहीं था नौकरी करना, even अगर आपका कोई मेजर करियर गोल्स नहीं है, I think getting a job just that gets you out of the house for a few hours a day while you can, it's a very good idea, because it helps you feel rooted in a city in a way that no other thing really can, because you have that very formal connection of, you know, मैं यहाँ जाती हूँ, मेरी सैलरी आती है, ये ज़रूरी है लाइफ के लिए, because friends से मिलना is, yes, it's important, but it's not necessary for life. Going to a hobby related class is lovely and fulfilling, but again, it's not necessary for your life here. So I think having that sense of having a job in the city is so important. It took me a while to find a job, and it takes most people a while to find a job, but you have to hold on to that faith that something will work out. And I do realize now, looking back, कि जब तक मैंने यहाँ पे जॉब करनी शुरू नहीं की थी, मैं पाकिस्तान साल में 2-3 दफ़ा जाती थी, because I just felt like, you know, मैं यहाँ पे ठीक है, अगर मैं बहुत अमेजिंग डे भी करती हूँ तो उसमें क्या ही मैं बहुत प्रोडक्टिव कर लूँगी. So I would just, you know, hop on whatever flight to Pakistan I could. And since working here full time, I have such a sense of being rooted, such a sense of feeling like my life is here, this is my life. And yes, I go to Pakistan for vacation and it's amazing, but then I have to come back, and that feeling of rootedness that having a job gives in a city where there's not a lot that connecting you to the city, I think that's very important to have. And you don't have to have a job like a 9 to 5 corporate job if that's not what you want. I know so many women here who will work in a coffee shop for a few hours a week, who will work as an intern again for a few hours a week at maybe an art gallery or something of their interest. I know women who work as photographers here. So there's a lot that you can do within your own interest range, and you don't have to limit yourself to a 9 to 5. I don't think that's for everyone, and I don't think you have to feel pressured to get a 9 to 5 job per se. A job is just something that you get out of the house for, even if it's once a week, and you get a payslip or salary at the end. And all of those things combined help you feel emotionally more connected to the city, less alone, less lonely, more rooted. And that's something that is very important to have, because आपका वो sense of identity जो इतना strong होता है और हर इंसान के लिए इतना ज़रूरी है, जब वो चला जाता है for a brief period, it can be very daunting. One question that I do get asked by people, and of course I also used to ask myself, is at what point does one start to feel like you're settled fully? And I will say that the first 2 years you have to have the mindset that this is an adventure, it's a new phase in my life, it's a new chapter, and things might be uncomfortable. I might not have a lot of friends, I might not feel very settled, I might not know how things work in this place, and that's okay. And I think giving yourself that grace period really helps, because अगर आप किसी शहर में जाएं and day one you are like, okay, my life should be sorted, I should know everything, I should be the social butterfly, I should be emotionally settled, it's not going to happen like that. So I gave myself that grace period. I said, okay, I have 2 years to work on certain things to help myself feel settled. And I think because I had that mindset, उस 2 साल के बाद, actually I didn't really realize it at that point. I now reflect back on it, but around the 2-year mark is when I actually started to feel like I'm settled, this is my city, I live here, this is my life, these are my friends, this is what I like doing on my own. And I think, yes, those 2 years now looking back were very scary, but they were also lovely in a way, because I had a kind of freedom that I now probably don't have. This is the problem with not having a script, because I've been yapping on and on. So I'm going to wrap up this video now. I hope you found it useful. I hope it made you feel a little less lonely if you are feeling lonely. I hope it gave you some sort of hope or encouragement that eventually you will feel settled. Of course, it's very normal to be homesick about Pakistan and about your life back home. अगर आपने अपनी ज़िंदगी के 20 या 25 साल एक जगह पे गुजारे हैं, those emotional ties don't go away easily, and they shouldn't, and they won't. But it's also nice to be emotionally connected to a new place, and you can definitely have space in your life for 2 homes and 2 emotional connections with places. On that note, I'm going to wrap up this video. Thank you so much to everyone who said they want to watch this video. If you have any specific questions, leave them in the comments below. I have a very practical version of this video specifically about settling in Germany, which I can also leave in the description below. So check that out if you live in Germany. And yeah, let me know where you are and what your journey has been like. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.